And I guess while you're explaining a little bit of these ancestors, would you also explain some of the others that were very important to you to image initially, like Mahuika?
This image here is the very, very first photograph taken in the series, and that is Mahuika. And beside her is Maui, and there's a story that connects those two. And Maui tried to obtain fire, which was on her fingernails. So she's got gorgeously manicured blood red fingernails. And this work was really important to me for a number of reasons. One of them was it was my father's eldest sister, and so in some of my works I like to document my family. And I think it kind of set a tone, really. I was thinking about more modernist Maori contemporary tradition might, when you talk about where Mahuika lives, she lives in the underworld, and I wanted her sitting on a Marcel Brewer chair because I wanted to think about her and how she would have a beautiful apartment. And then it kind of therefore relates to sort of some of the things that I do in my own life and my own work, and thinking about, you know, design, and that you can have this pinnacle of design, and that she would be part of that as well. She's wearing a marvellous Izzy Miyake dress that we created for her. Because I think, again, it was that idea, and I was talking about the kuruwai, how chiefs would wear really fine garments. So the kind of, maybe the gloss or the sheen that you see in this series of works, it's not really talking about, you know, a magazine protocol. It's more about a homage or recognising the fine quality of carving that the best tohanga whakairo, the best carvers aim for in their work. So it's really making sure that everything is really precise and quite specific. Her skirt is very red, and it's again trying to talk about the fires that was contained within her body, and the bubbling river that she creates when she extinguishes the last one in the river. So it's this kind of boiling mud, and then thinking about Rotorua or some of the quite specific places that people might know about internationally. Rotorua is a hot place.
And in terms of going back to that, when I had that complex questions about the protocol and everything, I thought that maybe with Maraki Hau, that's a way to talk about that, in that you told me a while ago that Maraki Hau can sometimes be represented as a male or a female, and that in that way you were also in that first series kind of doing something different, in that you were choosing to show these ancestors in a certain gender. So there was a kind of a, not a breaking of protocol, but a deliberate choice. And gender seems to be something that you're working with quite, like you were just talking about the takatapui, the cross-gender community. So with Maraki Hau, in choosing to present her as female, what are some of the protocols that you need to observe, or is it because you're reinventing, and that's kind of it's a fine thing to do, it's your personal kind of interpretation of customary practice?
I think, I didn't really, one thing that I don't, how to say it, I try and create a sense of integrity in my work, and so it's very hard to work out, and I ask this of my students too, when you're kind of passing over a fine line of work, it's really hard to know who do you ask permission from. That's a very difficult question. And so sometimes it might be, I might go and talk to a member of my family or my father, or carvers that I know, in order to decide. I mean, you can cross a boundary line, but to do it with consciousness is quite a different thing.
Yes.
And in that tradition of passing on knowledge, the woman Leilani Kaki, who's the model in this particular work, was one of my students, and I wanted to bring her in to observe the shoot, so it was a way of her getting to learn about how you create work. And there's a fine tradition of doing, I mean, that's a very long-standing artistic tradition. Often Well, marakiha are these, they're like sea creatures, and they can be protective forces, or they can be very dangerous forces. And so there will be stories of giant taniwha, and they might relate to an area that's very dangerous. So you might talk about, you don't go to this area because there's a dragon, there's this scary thing in that particular area. And it's a way of warning people off dangerous sites. And I was thinking about this particular work. It has aspects of the ocean. There's the kelp hairdo. This is one of the hats we were just talking about. It's a marvellous egg basket that makes for a great kind of shape around the head. So I was thinking about 40,000 leagues under the ocean and Jules Verne, and the very old-fashioned way that you would have these kind of big round things screwed onto your head. So it's like trying to bring in little aspects that might let people know what this image is about. She has a pudendum, and a lot of Maori work will have genitals will be used to signify strength, power, leadership, many, many different things. And a lot of carvings would have been emasculated, those genitals cut off during the colonial era. So it was kind of interesting to put that there with her, and for a female to be doing the pukana, which is a very strong, defiant look, to poke your tongue out and to create, it's a challenge to the viewer. But I was also thinking about contemporary things, music that I like, and there's a 1980s record cover called Soul to Soul, and there's this reggae dude throwing all his dreadlocks back, and I was kind of thinking about those things. And there are aspects with the three fingers. There's three fingers on one hand and four on the other, and they talk about when you hear a welcome, you'll say tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. So 3 is kind of like a magic number. 3 also talks about welcoming. I welcome your ancestors, I welcome you, and I welcome the future that is yet to come, because each person embodies a past, present, and a future. So when you hear that, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, I welcome you all. So there's all sorts of embedded knowledge. It's a body of knowledge, and it's a visual kind of writing that